Good morning, all. Thanks for joining
Hi,
today.
morning.
Yeah, please. Good morning for everyone, whoever is joined today. Can I, all can hear me without any issues?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
Okay, thank you very much. So last week I was talking about that again, it is an automation only. That is with Ansible on Nexus. It's a Cisco Nexus. I was just discussing about that. That is an Ansible. Ansible is very simple. Like an English sentence, you can just start writing all the scripts as well. Very little syntax has been there, and you can learn it in maximum 1 or 2 weeks. It's enough. Then you can start writing on your own, the scripts and all in Ansible. Ansible updates are also coming up. We just need to update it accordingly. And every other device we can manage it with the Ansible. That is not a bigger issue at all. But managing them and doing some scripting and doing the automation things, Ansible is, I can just say that Ansible is a master. Ansible is the number one software which everyone is using nowadays. But we just need to talk about that. Who is behind the Ansible? How the Ansible is working so beautiful? Why it is not giving any issues at all like that? How the people are easily learning about the Ansible or not? Even if the people who are not coming from the proper scripting background or something like that, they can able to start doing something with the Ansible. You know, so those things are the basic which is there in the fundamental. That is nothing but the Python. Python, by the name, people are listening that they just run away because Python is so harder. It's not so easy to learn. It takes a lot of time for it to understand. This is a scientific language. You require some coding knowledge, and you require kind of mathematical and scientific knowledge and all. Everything is required like that. Okay, partly they are true. I'm not saying that. I'm not rejecting everything from the people's mentality, and they think about this Python software like that. But Python is learnable. I can just say it's easy for you to learn, but we just need to put our own efforts to learn it. It cannot come so easily like Ansible or something like that. If you just see some of the script in Ansible, you can just understand that what is going to do it. After 2 3 scripts, if you go through that, you will understand that what is it going to do. But that is not the way in Python. Python is like completely scientific language, and it is an interpreter which can be installed in Windows as well as in Linux. So both compatibilities are there, but Ansible we cannot do that. And Python for Windows platform, we can install it. I have installed in my Windows 10 PC, and I'm going to show you some small demo after this, at the end of this meeting or something. As usual, I always do. And in Linux also, we can install it. It's very easy to install it in Linux. It is coming in like yum install, you can do that, or apt get install like that. Python has been already been integrated in Linux in many platforms as well. Like when you just go and install the Linux newly, as a from the scratch, Python must be there inside. So you don't need to install it as a package as such, like extra. But Python, you may have to upgrade it whenever it is required for you to make it up with the new scripts or something like that, new kind of a syntax which is coming up on this, and the compatibility problems with the vendor devices or something like that. We just need to do so small kind of the upgradations need to be done on that. Python is currently running on 3.x. X in the sense it can be of any version or something like that. It's a 3.9 something. I'm just running on this 3.8 or something like that. I'm just doing that. And Python is not a buggy. Python is not so much buggy as people are facing problems with their Ansible. The bugs are very lesser in Python. It is getting fixed always. And again, very important thing, Python is an open source. Anyone can take that. And it is a free to install. No need to pay any money to anyone else at all. And many other companies which are doing the Python scripting for to manage their entire automation scripts and all, like Python can be implemented in on-premises. Python can be implemented in our local data center networks. Python can be implemented for the cloud services operations and automations. And it can do it for your network automation also. That's what I am going to talk about now. Network automation. Why I'm always talking about a network? Because I'm a network guy. I'm near about 10 plus years of experience on the network side. And I've been working with the Cisco for quite a long time, and I was doing kind of L4 activities like that. I was just doing that. doing some troubleshooting for ISP environment and the networks and the troubleshooting which I was doing that, logging into the network and doing all this. Yeah, as usual, like all every other network engineer which we doing for any other companies as well in India, because we are all getting the, I know, the outsourced jobs or something like that we are getting that. So, but I was in Cisco for as a Cisco employee. I've been there. So we are talking about something.
Ramnath, before we go ahead, I have a quick question. Like, can you share the recording of this meeting? Or...
Definitely, I will be doing this for every other ending of the meeting, and I will be immediately post it to the YouTube channel of mine. You can watch it anytime you want. But I will be sending you the recordings also. But for that, I require your email address is very much required so that I can send it to you. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
Please give it
Wonderful
on
effort.
the,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Please give it on the Zoom chat at the end of the meeting. You will be getting everyone. You are given preference because the people who are joining directly, I just see around 15 people are there. They will be getting the first mail from you, from myself that about this training and other things. Other people will get it late. It's not a problem, but I will be always been uploading my recordings to the YouTube channel of mine, and as well as I will be sharing this PPT also to all the people. Don't worry, I will do that. Okay, now we will talk about something on the Python. Python, why Python is so much famous that it has been integrated into every other software, and it has been going into every other domain of the, yeah, we'll do that. And every other domain of the software domain. And why do we need to learn this Python? First of all, that is the main criteria. We just need to understand that. Why the network engineers need to understand the Python and why they have to do the Python. If without doing the Python, can I survive in the market? That is more important question. Either you are learning a new skill or not. Either you are much interested to learn new skills or something like that, skill set you would like to add it to your resume or something like that. How does it going to help me in the sense? People will be asking these questions like that. Why should we go for automation things? Why I'm good in Cisco commands, or even I can work in a Juniper routers also. Arista boxes also I used to work on that. Why should I learn Python for that? Python is very much mandatory nowadays. It is coming up because every other company is going for an automation things. Automation in the sense network automation I'm talking about. Network automation we can do, server automations we can do, database automations we can do, software automations which we can do. So many other fields are there. So many other domains are there. Everybody is going for an automation because of that last 4 to 5 years. The entire industry has been moved towards the cloud. Cloud means I'm talking about the public cloud. Previously, we were using our private cloud like VMware ESXi, and our own local data centers. We were discussing all these things and all like that time. We were not talking about much of automation or something like that. We never use any Python or we don't use any kind of Ansible or Chef or Puppet or something like that. Nothing we touched it. It was not at all in the scenario itself. Earlier, the SDLC, the software development lifecycle, some people they were doing it for some software application generations, like means application writing people. They were using the Python, and they were doing that. It was hidden from us, like which we may not be knowing that. As a network engineer, we will be running the commands like the show interface brief, show routing table, show IP AGRP neighbors, like, and show configuration, and like something like that. We were just doing that all show commands, and we were just configuring it through the config terminal and IP address configurations and all. We were doing that, but those things has been come to an not an end, I can just say, but it is not the only skill which is being expected from the HR as well as from the current market trend. It is not only that you will be knowing the commands, you can just go ahead and start typing all these things to make the things to work. That was perfectly okay 5 years back. If you know how to configure the MPLS, if you know how to configure that DMVPN or something like that, and you know how to configure the Cisco firewall or Fortinet firewall or something like that, just putting the commands and making the things up and talking to the ISPs to hook up the lines and everything, just troubleshoot it for 1 or 2 days. Things are coming up, like you'll just go ahead and activate all the policies on that. That was a pretty sure, very easy that any L2 guys can start doing that, and L3 guys can help them, and L3, L4 guys can doing some kind of the designing part of it, like, which I am currently doing the designing part. I'm doing that, but that is not the only skill which is being expected. That is what I would like to underline to the people like that. We are in a position to learn some coding. Why this coding has come up, why the automation is required, why I'm not freed by just running the commands and doing some kind of a maintenance. Man, world is changing, world is going towards the software side. And the people who are expecting, the managers, the HRs, they're expecting the person can do commanding, command line interfaces, typing like the commands and configuring everything, as well as he can do some automation also. Automation in the sense either Python or Ansible or any other third-party tools people are using it. But we are doing most of Ansible. I can just say, frankly, I can just say that because Ansible is quite easier, we can adopt it very easily. But Python is not in that way. Python, we need to learn the Python, basic Python. First of all, at least 2 to 3 months, we need to learn it. Then we can start doing the scripting on Python, because Python scripting is more or less equivalent to the C, C++ and other things. All the people who are software engineers who are doing some kind of coding and all like that, it's required. Syntax knowledge is very much required. Coding skills is required. You just need to start it with some small. From the people who are coming from the Linux can learn easily. That's what I was keep on saying that in every other sessions. Please learn Linux, any Linux, either Ubuntu or CentOS or Red Hat or Manjaro or Arch Linux. Any Linux, you just need to do. Sorry. Why the Linux is so required? Because Linux has got a lot of automation stuff has been already been there. Whenever you are typing any commands in the Linux box, Linux console, Linux server, you are doing a 50% of the Python commands only you are running that. How easy it is. Think of it. You are just doing the server maintenance only. When you're doing the server maintenance, 50% of the commands are already being derived from Python only, the commands which we are typing on the Linuxes. This is 100% true. I can even prove that. That's why I'm telling, don't just rely on the Windows. Windows people can survive in the market. Means if he is doing some AD, Active Directory, Azure desktops, Azure, hooking up, and he is doing some MS SQL. Windows engineers who are dedicated for Windows maintenance and Windows operating system, Windows server installations and maintenance. People are doing that. For them, Windows is okay, but for Windows also, PowerShell is there. You just need to learn the PowerShell. PowerShell integration with the Python is there. There again, some what is that? A lot of problems will come up for you. Like, so it's don't take it as like a problem or something other. Try to learn a new skill so that you can upgrade your resume to the next level. Like any damn company, I'm just saying, either it is a small, big, or even very small startup, or there is a huge MNC who is having a presence in 150, 140 countries or something like that. They are, everybody is going for the next quarter, next 3 months, next 4 months. They are having the plans of going for an automation. This is true because I am into the designing phase, designing team which I'm working on, and I'm reporting to the technical director TD. So we are all getting the kind of a projects which are coming to us in the sense people are still having in their mind to go for automation. Then they are asking us like very general, very layman level questions that how automation will help us to improve our productivity, how much profit we will be having it, how much resource may be required for us to automate it, and how much resources required for us to maintain the automation. Means if a company is running with L1, L2, L3, total of near about 50 engineers in the sense, after the automation, you may not require that 50 engineers. You require only 10% of that. Maximum 6 to 7 guys are enough for you to maintain that. One way it is wrong, one way it is actually doing bad for all the engineers who are looking for a job. The other way, the person who learned the automation, either Python or Ansible or anything, he will be get retained over there. You are getting the job is being assured for you. So how we started, I will just say that last 3 4 years back, and I'll just things started like our company people saying that you just go and learn some kind of automation skills. We just started on our own. Like Python, they were teaching the Python in some of the institutes and all. They will just teach only the theoretical part of it, and they have some set of scripts which already been written, and they by hearted each and every lines on that. They just come and like put it on the board and ask us to write on that. That is, it was not at all helping us because I wanted to apply the Python scripting towards the network devices. When I go and do that, they are completely disconnected. They don't know what is a network at all. Means I'm talking about the Python guy who's writing the code. They are good at Python. Okay, they know how to put the syntaxes, how to write the dictionary, how to write the many other things are there. They know everything on this one. Tuples and directories and everything they can talk about that. Technically, they'll talk so nice, but when you're asking them to implement it for a network in the sense they are zero. What is the problem is that they don't know network, but they know very much Python. And you don't know Python, you know very much about the network. So there was no connectivity is happening between the two guys. So what is the problem? HR and managers will be start pushing you. You learn Python. That is the only easy way because the person who has been already been in L3 and L4, he must have crossed near about at least 10 to 12 years in the industry. So he knows each and everything. Each and everything in the sense Cisco boxes, Juniper boxes, Arista boxes, Fortinet gateway, firewalls, ISCs. Nowadays we have that ASAs has come up and FTD has come up in Cisco. Everything is which we know. We already been there. We know a little bit of server relations, server related things also like. So what the HR is thinking that if a person who has already been trained on, already been on the experience on the industry for 10 to 12 years means he can build his own skills towards automation also, but that is very hard. The person who is starting as a new to an even as an Ansible is also very hard. He will not understand. Someone need to teach him. Teaching in the sense like that he has to be in the network field so that he can teach. If the person is good in the network, they will not be able to talk. Means in the sense they will finish the work by hook or crook, but they will not be able to explain it properly. This is what I was seeing it in the many of the YouTube channels. The people could not able to deliver it properly. What they try to talk, what they try to convey, what they try to convey, what they try to say that, how things are running on that, how the script has to be started as the first, what lines has to come first, what is the significance of that line, what is the second line, what is the third line, where I will be calling all the variables, where I should be putting the braces, where should I put the square brackets. These are all, if you just start asking all these things, they will not be able to give an answer for that because they themselves, they are not so clear because they are not coming from the proper, like programming background or something like that. I'm not blaming. Everyone is in the same way. Even I was also in the same, situation 3, 4 years back. Now, even today also, I'm learning. I'm not saying that I know everything on Python. I know everything on Ansible. No, the challenges actually comes from the customers. Like when we have near about 3 to 4 customers, we've been already implemented for a huge, like huge network, which includes the servers and databases also, not only the network devices. We done that like, cumulative script and all, we made it like for near about to 5 to 6 customers. They are very big Indian customers only. They are very big, but we are very much having a confidence that we can write anything on that. But suddenly one of the US customer has come up and he was asking like to write the script for their own like customized script. We are starting from the scratch again because the expectations were so it was not fit into our own skills or something like. We just need to go and learn out new things. So that's why I'm telling automation is also a daily new upgradation skills is required from your side. It is not just like that you just go and write the script and keep it out. The things will start working for years and years. No, no way. No way. Maybe if the same device you are trying to get some same kind of an activity, either you are taking a backup or you are looking for interface status or you're looking for how many users are logged into that and what is the utilization of the hard disk of that, how much database has been utilized. These are all like a quietly normal day-to-day activities of the sysadmin and network admin will be doing that. Those jobs are quite easier to automate. Anyone can do that. And in the internet, you can just find a lot of thousands of sites that will be giving you ready-made script for you. You just need to take that and start, like editing things, and you can fit it in the environment. Maybe like 1 or 2 hours, you'll make the script ready. But that is not going to happen when customers are coming with the unique requirements of their own network. There you will get the hit on that. It's not possible for you to write the script by seeing it from somewhere, collecting it from somewhere, and putting the syntax here and there. You will take a lot of time. When you are taking a lot of time, things doesn't go well. It's not working as expected in the sense. Customer will lose his patience and he will not confident on you. Then he will go back to the another vendor who can provide that. That is a problem. Like the pressures can come from anywhere. So that's what I'm telling. Like, please try to learn things Please try to learn the things from the basic fundamentals. Don't jump it directly to that. If you get a good, perfect running, beautiful script, okay, that may be running for only certain certain activities only can be done with that script. But if you like to do on your own, you would like to customize it, then the people will catch you, like whether you do, you know, or you don't know that. So these problems will come up when you are into the automation projects. It is not the, sorry to interrupt you, how Python will help in SD-WAN solution. If my question is wrong, I have a zero knowledge on Python. Definitely. Manjunath has asked SD-WAN. Definitely SD-WAN also people are doing it. Currently, actually, we are just doing only the ready-made solutions which are in SD-WAN. I have not, frankly saying that I have not done any automations on SD-WAN side because SD-WAN is mostly a proprietary side. That's what I understood because we are doing a lot of Silver Peak activities. Silver Peak SD-WAN is also there. Webtel, Cisco, that SD-WAN activity has also been there. But those are all like, what is like a customized, not a customized one. It's like more of convenient way, more of conventional way only we are doing that. There is no automation much has been done on SD-WAN from my side. I may try to build something like that for SD-WAN side also, Manjunath. I can just say that. Is currently what we are doing it like whatever the network which we were maintaining it near about some other customer, I can just say like a Tata Sky. Tata Sky has got a like home that set-top box installations like that, millions and millions of that. So like some other automations which are happening on that side, like that we are doing it like normal network related activity only. This is an SD-WAN is like software defined. That is something it being given from you require a network connectivity, you require internet connectivity, then it'll be making all these things. So that is a different one. I need to talk about this. Maybe like I will be doing some another session when how do you do automation for SD-WAN activity. Here I'm talking about the normal on-premises and as well as the local data centers or some extent to that, what I can say, and to the cloud, which we are doing that, not an SD-WAN. I may be doing it later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's not an
This is
interruption. It's
basically
like
for the legacy devices.
legacy
Okay,
devices,
existing.
mostly legacy I'm just doing. Yes, like normal
Okay.
Cisco,
Okay.
Zipwire and other boxes, which we are already managing through the commands and all like normally we do, no? And with an SNMP, we are managing all these things. Those things
Yes.
we are try to automate. You know, like, and again,
Even for
firewall.
the
Yeah.
even for the SMTP protocols, like creating the automated alerts, it will help. Will it help?
Yeah, definitely it will help. SNMP activities, we can do that. SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, which has already been doing that actually. SNMP has got so much of rights and permissions and other things, so many things people require to know that SNMP stuff and all. That's why people are slowly moving towards this automation side. SNMP is still there. We are for network monitoring, we just need to do it through the SNMP only. Configuration, other things and all. I can just say that everything is in the market. Which one you would like to choose it? That makes more sense. Right. Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, thanks. So we are going to talk about today about the NetOps. NetOps means network operations. I'm talking about operations only. Operations in the sense it will include the upgradations also. It will include the what is that? Maintenance also, something like that. Which we will come to know that what is the network operations and what is the NetOps versions are there and how many versions, version 1 and version 2 has been there and what is the current trend in the market and how people are looking for, like what sort of skills they are looking for that we will be seeing it through the, some of the slides or something here. Okay, let me make it F5. All right. Network automation is catching on fast, but still has long way to go. Definitely, it's a total cost of ownership and security rule the roost among top network challenges. This is like a survey they taken it, like how the network automation is going to affect their own company or impacting their company profits or something like that. 12% feel lack of visibility is a significant issue when managing the networks. And 31% of the pin agility and availability as top network troubles. 9% blame the culture as an impediment to modern networks. 48% people are saying cost and security are the two equally challenging factors in managing the networks. This is how, like, they have taken it from the network managers, network engineers, network top people who are doing the kind of designing and other things. So what are the challenges are there in the network? They just say total cost of ownership and other things, TCO. And CLI still fares as the number one method for making network changes. How do you do the network changes? We normally get into the console and start typing all the commands. Take an SSH or telnet sessions and type all the commands and find out that what is going on. It's very easy. But it is very easy if the device is having 1,000 devices are there, means you cannot log in every device and you cannot find out it. That is more important. But moreover, if you have a problem in a certain device, in the sense, it is very easy to do the SSH on this. So 16% saying that they use network automation tool to make network changes, only 16%. 33% use the respective vendor's network management solution to make the network changes. It depends on kind of, ASA is giving you the ASDM and some other, web-based activities and all like that, which we can do on this. There is a vendor-based there. 50% choose CLI as a device to make to network changes. Definitely, I was in the change management. I used to do the changes by every night and all something like that. We have a scheduled time for that. And we will be running the scripts, which has been already been tested and verified. Okay, then we will be applying that script to that by logging into the device and checking and verifying it with the customer to make it okay to close the case or something. So that is 50% still, not only 50%, it is more than that also. Maybe this kind of pie chart may be showing like that. And third one, software configuration tools are the most popular network automation solution. Software configuration tools, there are third-party tools are available for that. 17% respondents say they're using dedicated third-party network automation tools. 20% people saying in-house network automation tools, means customized locally, people who are sitting and down and they are doing it. Here we are trying further in our company. And 28% they saying that CLI scripting network automation, like Ansible, Python and other things which we can do that. 33% using configuration management tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet and network automation. So considerably increasing. You see that 33 is more than 17, 20 and 28. So now people are moving towards like automation tools like Ansible and other things. Lack of collaboration and application invisibility are top challenges in network troubleshooting. It's no secret that the network are constantly troubleshooted. Troubleshooting has to be immediate. Even one node malfunctioning in one device can cause an application to break, and multiple nodes going down can cause a widespread outage. As critical as delay-free troubleshooting is, it rarely ever happens, owing to one or more challenges discussed below. Yeah, we are doing that. This is like a daily job for us. We can just go and try to make one device, means it will break 10. That is always happens. So 16% of the people are blaming inaccurate manual network maps for problematic troubleshooting. People are always complaining that we don't have a diagram, we don't have the map or something like that, we don't have the network diagrams and all. Network diagram actually is not required for you. You can just log into the device and finding out by CDP neighbor, or you just log into that by seeing that routing table or something. But that requires an expertise, definitely. For starters, may require that network map or something like that. And 37% of the people are saying the lack of application visibility prevents them from conducting informed troubleshooting. And 7% of this long CLI troubleshooting times is a major source of delay. Now, CLI is the only option which we can do for a troubleshooting. Even if we are not able to ping that, if you're not able to reach the device in the sense, we'll ping it out. Definitely, ping will take its own time to get the packet back. Then we will just check that where is the path is taking that. Trace path, trace route, we will do that. And that will be saying that whether it is going through the proper path, which we already have some benchmark values, how much seconds it has to be taking. Say, for example, from Bangalore to Singapore, if I'm pinging that, my benchmark value may be 18 to 20 seconds. But if it is going longer than, then there is a path and there is a problem in the path. We'll go and troubleshoot all those things. But we will be doing it, but there is no other way. 40% of the people saying that collaboration across teams is a roadblock after that is a managerial thing, which we cannot do anything at all. If you're not having the proper coordination, if you're not having the proper escalation chart with you, you don't know whom to talk about that. If the site contact information is not clear, means the person is not picking up the phone, or you're not getting the site contact of that. Maybe like the data center guy is not responding to you, or you don't know that whom to talk first of all. Like these are all like a procedural issues, process issues that you can just escalate it to your manager or something like that. He will take care of it. Your job is to only working as a technical guy. Okay, the next, most enterprises are in the initial stages of their network automation journey. Definitely. Hardening 16% of the responses is stage 3. They are going for stage 3. 33 are saying that they are in stage 2. Respondents are saying that 50% of the people are saying stage 1. But this is a bit older pie chart. Now you can just see that little bit of increase already been. So I see that there is a considerable increase in amount of the people who are going for the automation thing already. And number one, time taken perform network service changes. That is changes to the ADCs, firewalls, DNS devices, and extra. Network automation approach. If you use the network automation tools, it takes only minutes to change it. Vendors network management solution, it takes days. CLI on individual devices, definitely it will take weeks. Means 15,000 devices, if you like to change something, if you go for a CLI, then you have to deploy at least 20 persons per shift. Then only you will be able to finish that in maybe in 1 week or something. Otherwise, it's not possible. Again, you just need to go ahead and verify things which has been done, and it is not broken the things of the other thing which is the neighbor devices or something. So there is a bit challenges, very heavy challenges are there in CLI. You see that network automation tools are doing it in minutes. That's why we are all depend on network automation tools, and we are writing a lot of things on Python and Ansible and other things. Best practices of network automation, industry recommended. Analyze your network, identify the key pain points, areas you want to automate it, have a defined automation tool strategy, consult with all teams before making any decision, train your workforce adequately for the transition. This is a very important thing because we just need to have all the people need to be trained for automation things. They should learn the Python, they should learn the Ansible and everything. Conduct regular audits to ensure security and policy compliance. Explore, experiment, and expand. It's the best practices. Managers can talk about that. Okay, now let us see that what is NetOps first of all. The term NetOps can be perceived in two ways. A portmanteau of network and operations. Portmanteau or portmanteau word is a linguistic blend of words, which is parts of multiple words or phonemes. Phonemes are combined into the two new word like that. Also called as the NetOps one. Network and operations means network is also there, operation is also there. That's why it is called as like NetOps or NetOps 1.0. NetOps 2.0, that is otherwise it is called as Agile NetOps. What is NetOps 1.0? 1.0 is a traditional approach to networks and their management. It is characterized by bulky hardware heavy networks, network tasks executed through CLI scripting, network teams working in isolation from application security teams. As per the Gartner, NetOps 1.0 is CLI focus, IT driven automation hours. So NetOps, but still many other companies are still in NetOps only, NetOps 1.0 only, because we are also doing that. Many other customers are not still ready for to go for any automation. They think that if it is everything is getting automated in the sense we may not be able to manage the network properly. Otherwise, they think that their workforce need to get properly upgraded to the new skills of the Python. That it takes like education takes more time. Then again implementing those people towards the network is again it will take time. They'll make a lot of like problems as well. If those creating a problems in an automation tools or something, that will be a havoc in the network. They need to depend on the vendor to come and support for them every time. So these are all the mental blockings of that. The people would not go for a kind of a network operations or something. What about NetOps 2.0? It's a networking approach that goes beyond traditional networking ideals and incorporates core DevOps values like network agility, network automation, and network orchestration into its operations. Ops or operations is tied to overall business goals and includes part of both development operations and security operations. We were talking about DevOps and SecOps. DevOps is already there. SecOps has been already there. Means if you are managing your firewalls and managing your IPS, ITS, something like that, this prevention system, intrusion system and other things. This is called as a security operations. Not only that, you are applying some compliances and policies and other things for a company. So there is a security operations. Advocates modernization of the network, which technologies like a software-defined networking, intent-based networking, network functions visualization. It aims to make the network operation intuitive, context-aware, and analytics-oriented by the adopting practices that are driven by AI and ML. artificial intelligence and machine learning. So this has been there for quite a long time. I can just say that because we are talking about this for last 5-6 years, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Even if we are not implementing it directly by our hands or something like that, it has been already been there in the tools which we are already using. It. Google Map is using the AI NML to find out your route maps when you are driving your car, like that. Okay, shift from NetApps 1.0 to 2.0. With the businesses increasingly going digital, the pace at which they operate, be it delivering applications or services, rolling out bug fixes and updates, addressing customer concerns, has improved dramatically. This can be attributed to the advances made in the DevOps technologies and the rate at which they are being adopted by the enterprises. And there are plethora of tools in the market for every conceivable DevOps requirement. Some of the tools like Red Hat, Ansible, Chef, and Jenkins have been around for most decade now and moving towards strength to strength its their capabilities. 2.0 methodology. One is virtualization, second one is automation, and the third one is orchestration. More are there, it's coming up. So virtualization, normally we do that, VMware and all, we are installing that. They are also slow and rigid. NetApps 2.0 signals the move from physical hardware centric network environment to the virtualized, software defined. One that offers the easier management and greater flexibility and agility. Automation. Processes, manual process relation delays and affect the application team's ability to deploy and update application continuously. 2.0 endorses automation repeatable and predictable tasks like those involved in making network configuration changes, data collection from the nodes like that. Orchestration is an automation on large scale. While automation involves some level of human intervention, orchestration takes care of processes from end to end. Network orchestration can be run on processes such as adding pool members to the case of traffic spikes, provisioning applications on multiple environments, configuring firewall policies, and extra. These are all things that are done. It's the methodologies we are talking about. To align with the NetApp 2.0 philosophy, the tool should function across environment, on-premise, private, and hybrid clouds, vendor agnostic, network orchestrations, and other things. Integrate with the existing IT systems and services like ITSM tools, chat ops, intuitive and context aware. Provide the high availability into the network infrastructure, quick detection and the preemption of the network problems, and ensure network availability. Promote the extensive collaboration between network, DevOps, SecOps teams, and make certain network components like available for DevOps and SecOps. Provide real-time monitoring of health, performance, state of the network components, and ensure overall security and policy compliance. These are all things are required. Philosophy. Core aspects, that is nothing but a security aligned, analytics driven, automation friendly. Security aligned because we should not be going away from the security because we are going to manage the thousands of devices in one shot. So we need to keep the things to be security tightened for that. Analytics driven, data analysis is essential to predict and manipulate the network, optimize its operations and other things. Automation friendly. We need to have the things need to be error friendly, error free by increasing the pace. Network services are deployed and removing the need for a human attention. So let us come back to the Python. This is the older one Python. Something is like this is the site which you can go and visit that, and the python.org, which you can do that. There you will be able to download it for your Windows or Linux or something like that. You can just do that. You can get it at python.org on this. They can download and integrate. It's very easier to do that. And download the latest version for the Windows like that 3.8.3, which was the older one. Now it's around 3.9 something has come out. So we have it for OS. Windows is there, Linux, Unix, Mac OS is also there, other Linux also. And we can have it in the Docker also, like in the containers also we can able to put the Python for that. And active Python releases, these are all there. If you visit the site, you can able to understand this all Python site. If you visit that, you will get it, everything. And using the Python for web development, GUI development, scientific and numeric, software development, system administrations. So in in web development, Django, Pyramid, Bottle, Tornado, Flask, and Web2Py, something like that. GUI development, it's TK Inter, PyG object, PyQt, PySide, KV, WX Python, so many things are there. And you just see system administration, we can see it on Ansible, Salt, OpenStack. These are all we require to know that. Python is powerful and it is fast, plays well with the others, runs everywhere, is friendly and easy to learn, is open. That's what I was saying. It's an open source. There are some reasons people who use Python would rather not use anything else. It's like history of that. Who invented the Python? Python was created in the early 90s by Guido van Rossum at Stitching Mathematics Center, CWI. It may be on, you can visit this link to see that, in the Netherlands as a successor for a language called ABC. Guido remains Python's principal author, although it includes many contributions from the others. 1995, Guido continued his work as a Python National Research Initiatives, Virginia, where he released several versions of the software, like that. Introduction to Python. So let us see something about the Python. Because Python basics are required for you to go with, to do the automation for your network environment. So Python is a clear and a powerful object-oriented programming language. They call it as an OOPS. Okay, comparable to the Perl, Ruby, Scheme, and Java. Uses an elegant syntax, making the programs you write easier to read. They say easier to read, but it's not easy for us. You know, and easily extended by adding the new modules implemented in the compiled language such as C or C++. You can add some more things like a pip is the Python installer program. Runs anywhere, including Mac OS, Windows and Linux, Unix, with unofficial build also available for Android and iOS. It is possible. We can do it in our mobile phones also. It's a free software in two senses. It doesn't cost anything to download or use Python or to include it in your applications. Anyway, you can do that. It is completely free. You can download and start using it. And moreover, after downloading it, you can integrate it with your own third-party applications to use it also. It's possible completely. And Python can also freely modified and redistributed because while the language is copyrighted, it's available under open source license. That's all. You just need to have the GPL. Python basics. These are all the basic things which we need to understand. Variables, basic operators, numbers and calculations, strings, list, tuples, dictionary, IO files, data, if statement, while loops, for loops. These are all coming now. These are all coming nothing but like what is that? Scripting, which we normally do that. This is for language people who are writing that. This loop and other things. We are about to perform these loops. We need to write this. If something goes wrong, go to this way. While if it is working fine, then find out this on this. For if you're getting it for this, do this, like that we will do. These are all like a dependencies which are started. And for to understand it, is all these loops and other things, we need to understand all these first of all things. So better before starting writing the Python script for your network devices, learn Python at least for a month. At least for a month, I'm saying. Learn Python. There are so many videos, free videos are available on YouTube. You can just take that and you can start learning the Python. Now how to like type something on the Python like that, you can just see. Next, command line. If you do Python, then it will be showing that Python version of it like this. You can just type, just print the hello world like that. You will be seeing the 3 greater than symbol that it will show you that you are inside the Python prompt like this. And there is an IDLE is also there, means integrated development and learning environment. This is coming along with the Python. When you're installing the Python, this IDLE environment has also been installed. You can learn it like it's like a normal browser like that it has been given to you. You can learn those things. And if you like to do some kind of, the GUI activity, something, we can use the PyCharm. PyCharm is is another third party GUI based Python script writing software. You can just say again, you require the Python skills to write the software. This PyCharm will not help you a lot, but it can give you in one shot all these things. Means like you can write the program here, you can run it and see the outputs on this. You can see the errors over here. Like this, you can create your own directories and all these things. It may be like giving you some small predictions on that what can come in the next or something other. It's possible, but For learners as a beginners like that, we can just start using the Python for to learn certain things by using that suggestions which are given to you by the Python. But I would like you to do that by doing everything on your own. Means type, type, and learn all these things. Like don't expect any kind of a help which is coming up. Help is available. Module helps are available. Command helps are available. How to run a script is available. Everything is available, but you just need to learn all these things on your own. And Python package installer. This is very much required. PyPI is a repository of the software for Python programming language. We require to install certain PyPI pip list. If you give that pip list, it will be giving you that what all the packages are installed inside the Python. Python is a language for each and every device of your own. Means like if you are using the Juniper, it may require some Python installer package. If you are doing some kind of a programs with the Cisco or FI load balancers or FortiGate or Palo Alto firewall, that may be requiring a small package to be installed in the Python so that the Python can interact with the the end devices. So that is called as a Python installer package. That is called as a PIP. We will say that PIP. After installing everything, you can just try the pip list. Then it will show you what all things are installed. But by default, something will be already installed. But we will install it as per the third party is suggesting for us. Then we have to create and activating the virtual environment. Virtual environment in the sense for each and every customer, we will be creating a virtual environment. We will be managing their scripts, like we'll be managing their scripts through that virtual environment only. For every other devices, we'll be keeping it in a virtual environment. It's possible. Virtual environment is nothing but logical creations of the domain like that we just create. For Cisco, I will be keeping it in a one virtual environment. For Juniper, I will be keeping it in another. For Palo Alto, I'll keep it in another, like that. So can have multiple virtual environment installed in Python. That is also possible. A self-contained directory tree that contains a Python installation for particular version of Python plus a number of additional packages. If you just see that activate will come up. When you just activate, you will be seeing that. See here, yeah, it's already there. P3.8. That is a one of the like virtual environment which I created. And you can check your Python codes program here with a Python checker. Means if you have written a code, if you have written a small script of that in the Python, you would like to check it whether this program is going to work or not, or it is going to create an issues for me. What all the mistakes are there? How do I correct it? So you can go to this site and it will be doing you the wonder thing. Means like it will be giving you some suggestions for how to correct your where all the mistakes you are making. Right? Python documents are online. You can go to the python.org/doc. Please try to like refer the doc which is compatible to your version of it. Means like if you are using 3.8, please refer the 3.8 version of the Python only, because the docs must vary according to the Python versions also. And Python package index is a repository of software for the Python programming language. You can see it from here, pypi.org. So these are all the links which we can go through on this. And we come up to the end of this, like things. And you can talk to me anytime. The number which is available on that in the screen. And if you have any questions to ask me, you can ask me now. I'm ready to answer that. And we will be seeing a small, like the demo, which I would like to open up my GNS3. Through the GNS3, I will be writing I have written some script on Python. I will run that script and I will show you some certain things to run on that, to get the reports from the router, to configure certain commands on the router, and to find out the health of the router box like that, which I will be running on that. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, and you can visit my YouTube page to see all the videos on all the technical things. In the last line, YouTube, Ramnath Kansal is there. And you can call me and then you can WhatsApp me on any kind of a training which you're looking for on a Python, on network. Only network engineers only I will be taking. I will not be taking anything on a Python or something like that. But I will be giving you the basic things which is required for you to come to the network level to write the programs on the network automation using the Python. That I will always do that. But I'm not, again, I'm saying that nobody is an expert. Me too. I'm not an exclusive guy. We are already been implemented a lot of Python, scripting, other things, automations on our network. So I have an experience on that. From my experience, I can give you a lot of informations on this. It's not only that the bookish knowledge or something like that. I just give you from my practical knowledge or something like that. I'll just show you. I'll share it you all the things. I have written some ready-made scripts which are available with me. I will share it with you and I'll explain you things to do, how things can go on, how do you install Python. When you come to the sessions, I'll be giving you like how to install a Python in a Windows platform or a Linux platform as you like. Then how to tune it up, how to create the virtual environment, how do you install the packages using the PIP, the PYPI, and tuning the applications on this and writing the small script to the bigger one, like doing the multiple tasks with one script or something, integrating things, cloud integrations, on-premises integrations, virtual machines integrations, container integrations using the Python, which I will be taking the sessions. And I will be giving you more on, is it necessary to know first coding language, for example, like Java, PHP. Java, PHP and all, it will not work. Bartendu. I'm telling that Java is a different language. PHP is another different language. Means if you have some basic coding skills is tough. Like we were using that in our colleges, like basic Fortran, COBOL, something like that. We just learned that. Means like you just need to know the infrastructure of the code. How does it work? What all the variables need to be defined first? What all things are the modules has to be installed first? And what we are going to perform it by this kind of, the program is going to do what could be the output I'm expecting on this. If you have these things clear in your mind, then you can start writing all these things, which is a necessary thing, because Python commands and Python syntax is completely different from Java and PHP. Java commands will not be used in Python. Python PHP scripting syntax we don't use it in Python. This is a problem, like that people coming with some different kind of the experiences and they try to pull their own ideas towards Python. It doesn't work here because Python is a separately as a new unique language, and it has got its own syntaxes and commands and the structure which we need to build it. Okay. Overall understanding of the code writing skills are required, but not the specific one I can look for. That's what my answer for Bhartendu. So any other question? Coding C language basics language is required. C language, if you know that, it's nice. Or if you are very much ready to learn Python, that is more important. If you are ready to learn the Python, then I will be taking that what is the necessary part for to learn the Python to go for this automation skills or something. If you are coming with the C++ knowledge or some other knowledge, that will be very nice, because Python depends on C and other things. Python simulates many other things from the older C++ languages and other things. But I would like to say that whether it is required or something like that, I have to come with the knowledge or something. If you are coming with that knowledge, my job will be easier. I don't need to take a lot of things from your side. Means like I don't need to take a lot of things from my side, and I can start with some level or something like that. But I will be going through, even if you're coming with the knowledge or something, I'll be going through basic things on this first. Maybe like 1 week we'll be doing only the basic Python. Then we will do the real writing of scripts to start writing with the routers or something. That I will take that. But at the end of the course, you will be having the confidence that you can write the program, you can write the code, and you can try to implement it in your production to work. Definitely, you can able to do that, because currently speaking, that we are not configuring anything through the Python nowadays, because the customers are still not available, or they are not allowing us to do the configuration part of it. We try to take some reports, generating things, and like log generations and multiple fixes upgradations, means like some OS fixes which are going on. This configurations wise, we are still depend on our people to do that. And if the customers are ready, then we will be doing the configuration which doesn't impact the current running routers configurations or something. Means like updating a syslog IP address or SNMP contacts, or kind of virtual lines opening up, like, and adding some more like descriptions to the interfaces or something, which doesn't never create any impact to the devices or something. Those non-impacting changes are allowed through the automations. That's what we are currently doing it. But I will be taking the scripts which will make complete modifications of the entire router. We can even reboot the router. We can even reboot, we can even restart, we can even shut down the router, we can upgrade the OS on this, and we will be, rebooting the router to make it effect on this one. Everything will be done. All destructive as well as constructive activities, we will do it in our lab. Before, applying the scripts or something, by having the knowledge of something other, and you just need to try it in your own environment. If you have some network with you in your own company, if you create it for your testing purposes or something like that, please try to do all the scripts running on that. Then you go ahead and implement it in the network as well. That anyway, that seniors will be there. They will be guiding you like how to go for it and other things. But still, I'm telling that if you are 100% sure that the network is not going to get affected by the script you are going to run it from the Python, then you go ahead and do that. That is always everyone's responsibility goes on that. Okay, LAN we use Python for SD-WAN 2. Sumant Singh. Means, see, SD-WAN is going to connect all the devices through the WAN connections. That is for sure. But only connecting the WAN, what does it make sense? All the LANs need to talk to the another LANs. That is a normal, like the criteria which I am telling that. Can we use Python for SD-WAN too? SD-WAN Python implementations are there, but that is very harder. Like I have not still done that. So from my side, I'm just saying that maybe in future we may be going for SD-WAN implementations on the Python also. It's possible we can do that. Sumit Singh, it's possible. SD-WAN, because see, we are already doing that VMware and like the things which we are doing there on premises and VMware networks, VMware things, and also the containers and all, we started doing that for Python implementations. So SD-WAN is also not spared out. We can have that, not a problem. So any other questions from anybody else? Let me start the GNS3 so that you will be getting some idea of that how the Python is getting implemented on this. So I guess you are seeing my directory on this. Okay, let me start the GNS3. Python demo, installing the virtual environment, something I was written on this. So GNS3 starting. I have taken 2 routers in this small scenario. I'll be running certain commands on this one. And to understand the things on that, let it get started. Take some time. So it should start the, it will be starting the VMware workstation. So GNS3 VM will get started. After that, I can open that the small lab which I constructed, and from the like command prompt, I'll be able to run all the scripts on this. Python scripts will be already written on this. Then I'll be showing you all this. A little bit of introduction to the scripting things I would like to give it to you. It takes time, please wait. So GNS3 is a very good software we can try out. Ansible also, Python also. Like if you are preparing for your any exams like Cisco certifications, GNS3 is a gift for all the network engineers. You can try out every other scenario, almost all. So try to install that. But yeah, that's what I was telling, that when you, even if you're doing the Python like labs or something like that, it requires to have at least a 12 GB of RAM in your PC so that the routers can be started without any problems. Let me start this Python. There is a new version has come up in GNS3. It's not required. Let it get started. Okay. So these are all the 2 routers I connected. This is both are Cisco routers only. Let me start them. These 2 routers are connected to the switch and it is connecting to the VMnet2. VMnet2 means I will be running the commands from that particular subnet so that I can talk to this, the routers. Let me start them with their console. little bit of time. R1 has come up. So R2 will also come. Let me take R2 console also. Chance came. Let them start. And to make the Python to running, we just need to make the routers to work with an SSH only mostly. Nothing else we require on this one. Go with the routers. IP address is required so that we can able to monitor all these things. It's a normal command which I'm running, that this is a 10.2.2.10 and this guy is like show IP interface brief. It's a 10.2.2.11 actually. So now if I go back to my things, I have already activated that thing. The scripts are there on this. You just show that Python for network engineers, Python nodes and scripts. These are all the scripts which I am having it. Telnet basic, Telnet interactive, Telnet auto login, Paramiko interactive, auto login. So many scripts I have written on this. Let me run this telnet basic.py. I'll show you that. And what are the scripts like that type? Let me see if it works. 01. Yeah, this is the code which I written on this. You can just see that this is the Python code which has been there. These are all the modules which we need to, integrate it with the code. Getting the password, system, telnet lib. Telnet lib means it is a telnet library. The host is 10.2.2.10. That is one of the IP which I configured here. This is the host. If I change the host to 11, then I'll be able to log into the R2 on this. Means I'm going to run a certain commands through the Python to collect the output of these routers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the telnet lib, the telnet host, Cisco, term length is like that. Show IP interface brief. That is what the output I'm going to read that. Show IP interface brief, the same command which I typed here, show IP interface brief, the same thing I will be able to get it when I'm running this script. It's a small script and it is going to run the script using the telnet things like that. So I just need to run it as it is like this. Then the output has come up on this. If I pick up this, I'll just type it enter, then I'll go back here, I'll put it on this, then I'll be able to see that in the correct format. Just see that. It's automatically putting the password and other things it is working on. It's showing that IP interface brief. This is the command which has been typed on this. And it is getting the output like a 10.2.2.10. The why this is not so coming so in a proper way, people may be asking that. For that, we need to do some kind of an output, giving it in certain kind of a format. There are many formats of that. Text format is there. JSON format is there. You know, like JSON format is like, it's like look like programming like that, it will come up. Or normal text format we can take that. Or we can send this outputs to a directory as in a text format. In the output directory, we will go and verify that whether it's coming up properly or not like that. So like that, we can run many commands as well on this. And let me see this second one here. So this is the interactive login. I can just do that. Means interactive, it will ask you the passwords as well. Enter the username, password I just need to say. Then it will be running the commands on this. I just need to verify whether the interactive Python has got the same IP as which I am having that. Let me open up that file. So this is 10.2.11. It's taking that. One second. Yeah, it was the password was wrong actually. That was it was not working. So what was the command? What was like the script which was running on that? I'll show you. The script was written like importing the get pass, definitely. Telnet library has been installed. Host is 10.2.11, that is the IP address of the router. It will be asking the interactive because it is an interactive one. User input, enter your username. It asked us, enter your username. You see that? It's saying enter your username, then the password, like that. Then the password it will come up here. 1 second. Then the password, it will be getting the pass from here because we already have the module installed, so it will getting the pass. Then telnet it to the router, and what it need to wait for a certain time. Like when you're getting the username, verify it. Then waiting getting the password, verify that. Then term length 0. Term length 0 in the sense it will be the full things will coming up in our own screen. And what is the command it is going to run for that? Show version is the command it is going to run for that. After that, exit and come out. That's what we get it here. See that? So it is looked for our username and it is a password I given there. Then it is be term length command has been done on the second router. Then it is running the command on the R2 as a show version. It's taken the output. Then it is came out, exit. Then we come up to the prompt on this. Like that, we will be writing many scripts on this. I have written some small, like people need to learn that. That's why I written smaller scripts on that. So we will be able to see that many of the scripts which are there, and I will be asking you to write the scripts on your own, because that will be the way that you will be learning things on this. And the setup is very simple. You just need to have 1 or 2 routers only. You don't require any heavy routers or something. But when you try to have some multiple routers as well, like a Juniper or Arista or Nexus routers or any firewalls or something like that, we just require more space for that, more memory for that. That's what I was just saying. Minimum, if you have 12 GB in your laptop and 500 GB hard disk, if you have. And i5 is more than enough. CPU i5 is enough. So you can learn all these things in your own laptop itself. You don't require anything more software or something like that, because again, the Python is completely free. Python is completely free for us. So we can try install it and we don't require to purchase anything like that. No license, no cost, no like nothing is as such is required. You can learn the Python as it is, but I will be taking some other things which is required for you to know about the Python. Then you will be writing a scripts like this with that. Let me close this. So you will start writing all the scripts over here. These are all scripts. You can see that somebody is pinging. Okay. Any online free tabs? I don't have a laptop. Okay. Free tabs means you may not be able to get a free tab or something. Better if you go for a rental, but with a local vendor. Just get down on the street. But this time it is actually wrong. But anyway, go with your mask installed in your face, and just try look for some online people who are giving you, like, you know, some rental laptop or something. 1 or 2 months, if you take it in a rental, is more than enough. Go for a 16 GB DRAM with 500 GB hard disk and i5 or i7 processor. It's nice, so that you can try with every other vendor Python. You can learn on it. That's very easier. But free tab, free labs.
Sorry, Ramnath, it is lab. You
Free
took
lab.
as a lab.
Free lab means I don't understand. What is free lab?
Lab, if you go with any router and router configuration or switches configuration, you will find like INE will provide the real racks, right?
No. That is anyway there, but you just need to pay for it. No, but free. Who will give it free in online? I don't understand.
Okay, no, just I asked.
Yeah. People are already having it. Like, for if you are looking for a CCNA certification, that is a lab is there. Online rack rental, you go for it. Like the Python,
Yes, like that.
I've never seen any Python for rack or something like that. It is not there, because Python can be installed very easily in your laptop and you can start, you know, practicing on this. It doesn't require. Why I am using the GNS3, I will tell you, because we are, as a network engineers, we need to run the scripts on our routers. That's why we require this GNS3 for that. Else, if you are learning a Python only, means either Windows laptop or a Linux laptop, with a minimal RAM also it's enough. 4 GB or 6 GB if you are having, that is also more than enough. So like that you can have it. Like rack rental free for Python, I don't see anywhere, because people are giving very heavier, like Cisco Nexus, they are offering rack rentals, but there is hourly rate, you just need to pay for it. Online lab for Python or Ansible or something, I don't see that. Even you can try for that. Some of the Delhi guys who are offering something for Nexus or something, very affordable rate or something like that they are giving. But I prefer my students has to install it the Python in their laptop. At least a rental laptop they need to buy it. And a rental take a rental now. Monthly rental is only 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. You are going to pay that. You will learn everything and you can give it back to them. That's all. That way we can do that. That's very easy. So, any other questions from anyone? How did you access router on command prompt for Python coding? For that we need to install the Python installer package. Bartindu is asking. Python installer package is been installed, and moreover, I am doing the telnet. I am doing the telnet through the Python towards the routers, and this network adapter has been already configured in my laptop. The Windows 10 has got this IP address configured on this. So these two routers also in the same subnet. You see that 10 to 10, and they are in 10 to 11. So from there I can do the telnet on this. I can run the scripts on this. It is very much possible. So this, when you joining for the sessions, I will be taking by step how to do that in all. It's very easy. Python coding, we need to write it. Python coding, we can write it in the Notepad++. This is a Notepad++, I can say. See that about Notepad. This you can download it. It's a free again. Notepad++. With this, we can able to start writing the Python codes on this. So you see that there is a .py. Every other code will be coming up like a .py only. Just you see that all are .py only. The symbol which is saying showing now, that is nothing but a Python. It's like Python codes are written on this. So like we can start writing on this. It is very easy. I will tell you how to write it. Don't worry about that. Okay. So for network automation, we require GNS3 should be installed. Then only we can run the commands and the syntaxes and the scripts and like upgradation, downgradation, IOSs and other things. And we can do configuration management. And we can configuration addition, deletion, comparing, like compare the configuration between the two routers. If they are both same, leave it. If they're not same, upgrade the other router. Something like that we can do. This is nothing but an automation. If you see the access list, 10 lines written in one router only, another router is having only 7 lines in the sense, we will upgrade the second router with the next 3 lines only, not all the 10 lines. Like that. So we will do some interactive as well as intelligent way of automations also we will be doing. So that is about the Python, for network engineers. And as usual, I'll be showing you my name and number. You can talk to me on this. And moreover, I will be giving you this all recordings as well as the PPT slides to you people. I would like to have your email addresses. Please give it in the chat box in the Zoom chat. I'll be sending it immediately to you. Within half an hour, you will get it from my side. Please give your email addresses, please, on the chat box. So I will not disturb you. I will not ask you to join a class or something like that. I will not send you like unnecessary things and all. Don't worry about that. I'll be giving you this information to you directly. Please give me your email address to the chat box. I'm waiting for that. Thank you. Or if you have any other questions, you can ask me. I'm ready to answer you. Batindu has given, and yeah, Manjuna, Prakash. Okay, nice. Everyone can give it, not a problem. You will receive the mail from me in the next half an hour. By 1 o'clock, you must be receiving it. So you can directly download it, all these things from my Google Drive, and you can download it from my, everything. Everyone is giving it nice, very nice. Please give everyone Sasi, Sharat Kumar, Prathamesh, Manjunath, Prakash, everyone is giving. Harshit Lal. Okay, nice. Guys, and moreover, I would like to give you one small message. Because of the corona, second wave is so heavier. People are seeing a lot of news in TV and other internet media and everywhere. Please don't go out unless and until it is very much necessary. Even if you are going, please wear the mask and have a sanitizer in your hand. And please clean your hands always. Like don't go out unnecessarily. Thanks to our internet, and we are all network engineers, we are building the entire world without any interactions as well. So it's a very kudos to us that we are working in a #1 technology which is in the world. Please try to use your VPNs to visit your corporate network or third party network or something. Assignment required, it is very much required in the sense, please try to go to the data centers and start working on that. Otherwise, please don't go. Okay. That's what I say, my advice, because I'm also following the same thing. Please don't go out unnecessarily. Please stay inside. And I guess the registration has been started. People can vaccination. You can register yourself. But you just need to wait for your turn to come. I have also registered, and I'm waiting for my turn to come to get vaccinated. And thanks once again for everyone join on this Python's this one. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Useful session. Thank you, Manjunath, saying that. Thanks everyone for joining this session. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Else, you can write an email to me. My email address is techroute@gmail.com. You can send it to me, and you can watch all the videos and everything which has been on the YouTube. Anytime you can watch that. It is a free channel. Please subscribe to my channel for all the latest videos on Tech Talks, and you can suggest my channel to your friends, colleagues, and relatives and everything. Everybody, thanks once again, and we will meet again in the next week with the new chapters and new topics on this. Thanks again for everyone, and I'm ending this meeting for everyone. Thank you very much. Bye.